Karen, this morning the government focused on a series of transactions from December of 1990. According to the documents, Robert Hill and Herbie Branscombe each received thousands of dollars of reimbursement checks from their bank. The checks were recorded as payments for legal and professional services. According to the deposit slips, Branscombe and Hill placed the money in their personal accounts. Within the same week, Branscombe and Hill wrote checks to their kids, and their kids in turn contributed money to help Bill Clinton eliminate a campaign debt. And this afternoon, Branscombe's attorney, Dan Guthrie, objected to the way he said prosecutors were using the Clinton loans in order to prove Branscombe and Hill's motive in the alleged crimes. Hillary Rodham Clinton prepared the financial statements connected to the loans, and at one point, Dan Guthrie, with the judge's support, said he may call Mrs. Clinton as a defense witness. Prosecutors later stipulated they were not going to show any wrongdoing with the Clintons' loans, and Guthrie backed down, ruling out a subpoena for the First Lady.
My comments about Mrs. Clinton to the judge were meant by illustration of how far afield we've gotten here in this case, that where are we going to go with this? I mean, who else is going to be a potential witness in this case? So I want to make it very clear. I have no plans to subpoena Mrs. Clinton to this trial in view of the statements that OIC made in the courtroom. This evidence strictly for the purpose of trying to provide evidence of the government's theory that the motive for these three checks that relate to Herbie Branscombe was to somehow ingratiate himself politically. So all of this stuff is coming in right now strictly for that purpose and for no other reason. This jointed picture that they've tried to present to the jury is being put in its proper context. And I feel very comfortable with the jury deciding Herbie Branscombe's credibility. There's been no evidence whatsoever, in our view, that has been offered that would in any way show that the prosecution has proven beyond a reasonable doubt the intent element. Certainly, we don't believe there's been any evidence of any misapplication or any false entries made in the books and records. And this picture shows the jury, better than I can ever express it to the jury, that this motive theory that the prosecution has tried to force upon the jury is just simply preposterous. I feel like that during our presentation of the evidence, it's going to be clear that what's happened here is there's been a selection of random checks that they're trying to fit into a theory of a case that simply doesn't make any sense. What's coming through the jury is the fact that we're dealing with a witness whose testimony has evolved. He starts at one point, and now he wants the jury to believe that at that point he was telling a lie. But you're going to see a clear evolution of his testimony where he starts changing his story to try to help himself. His credibility is very much the issue. It's not an issue, it is the issue. And he is the sole witness that independent counsel has that attempts to tie these otherwise innocent acts together. I choose to see it as a favorable sign because the fact that conspiracy charges are typically the easiest type of charges for the prosecution to try to prove. And that certainly would indicate that they may very well have reached some favorable verdicts. I think Herbie related well to the jury. I think he articulated his position very well, and I think that the jury liked him. And I think that was obviously a turning point in the case. Independent counsel Kenneth Starr said today that he will dismiss 7 charges against the two, charges that they used their Perry County bank to further President Clinton's political career. Those charges deadlocked a jury after a 6-week trial this past summer. The two men were acquitted of 4 other charges.